Let's make your business cook. Independent chefs who want to build and scale their personal and private chef business and call their own shots? Subscribe here for tips, hacks, and tactics to get clients, money, and freedom. So before we begin, like and subscribe below.
Hey, chef. I'm glad that you're here because if you're thinking about buying any ads for your business, before you do, I want you to listen all the way through to this particular broadcast so that you can know whether or not you're making the right step for your business at the right time. I'm going to share with you 3 things that you need to know before you buy any ad and the number 1 way to get the word out about your business. So stay tuned, put comments below, leave me your questions, and let me know what else you'd like to get training on so that you can grow your own private chef business and start calling your own shots, do what you love, and finally get paid what you're worth, chef. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about my own business, which we've been running since 1997, which is Hey Chef. And I'm also going to talk about another chef who's on the opposite coast, on the East Coast, Chef John, and what he did with ads. I'm going to just parallel what we both did with ads. But here's the 3 things that you need to know before you buy any ad. First, when you're thinking about buying an ad, know this: you are not buying an ad. What you are buying is an audience. Let me say that again. You are not buying an ad, you're buying an audience. So make sure that you understand what's the publication, what's the reach, and to whom it reaches. This is really important because we've got a couple publications here in town for my business, for instance. We have Tahoe Quarterly, which advertises in it. I'm not going to be able to give you all the numbers. You can go online and look at somebody's media kit and get their information. But Tahoe Quarterly advertises designers and home builders and architects for multi-million-dollar second homes and vacation homes in Lake Tahoe. Much better audience than Moonshine Inc., which is also a local newspaper. And Moonshine Inc. Advertises where the concerts are in town and how you can be green and responsible and shop at whole food stores. So very different audience. The Tahoe Quarterly is for more of my client, whereas Moonshine Inc., even though I write a column in there, Moonshine Inc. reaches many more of my neighbors, and my neighbors aren't the people who hire my services generally. So remember that you're buying an audience. Also, check their circulation. We're still on the first thing that you need to know about buying an ad. Check their circulation because people will boast about it. And they'll say, well, we put out 35,000 copies every month to the 7 golf courses in your area. This is an example for where I live in Lake Tahoe. We have a lot of golf courses, and at every one of the pro shops there's that metal rack that has a giant stand of publications with the newspapers right next to it, and it's a magazine that really is just a bunch of ads sold, and they brag about their circulation. But just because they've dropped off a bundle of those magazines doesn't mean that pro shop is going to put them out on display or put them out on display where people are going to pick them up, right? Or keep stocking it. I've seen places that have those stacks of magazines just piled up in somebody's office or in a back room, and they never get used, and eventually they get thrown away. So a hint that I have for you is to go to these places where they say that they're circulating. I've actually gone to a golf, to the pro shop and talked to somebody at the counter and say, hey, see this magazine over here? And I'll hear one of 2 things. Oh yeah, customers eat that stuff up and they're always asking us, where's the next issue? Or, yeah, the guy comes about once a month and drops stuff off, but we really have to throw them away every week when the housekeeping team comes because they're just getting in the way. That's super important stuff for you to know before you buy an ad, because just because they boast distributing to an audience doesn't mean that somebody's picking it up, right? And I'm not against ads, but I'll tell you in general, I have not received the responses that we need to continue to justify doing, putting forth the expense for print ads. There are digital ads, print ads, interruption ads, display ads. There are ads on billboards along the highway. There's ads on the back of shopping carts. There's ads on the back bench of golf benches. We've tried them all for our business, Hey Chef. So my hint for you is to go do an interview and ask a little bit more. Don't just take the salesman's answer about the audience and the ad that you're buying. Okay, so you know now, number one, that you're not buying an ad, you're buying an audience. The second thing that you need to consider before buying an ad is how much business do you have to earn to make the expense worth it? And people call that a return on investment. And it would be really nice if what calculates is, I have $700, I'm putting it toward an ad, and I know that I need 2 clients to net enough money to make up that 700, not 2 clients who earn 350, because you still have to pay your groceries, your team, your taxes, all that sort of stuff. To make up your $700 in ads, you probably have to make $1,200 to then net $700 to make that, right? So when you're looking at your return on investment, it would be really convenient if you could put forth one ad and then you could look at how much business you get from it, or how many inquiries which turn into how much business. It often doesn't work that way. Often what happens is, over a period of time, you're giving people an impression of you. An ad is an impression. And, it flashes in front of your eyes. I think about you. I know about you. I want to think about you again. Oh, there's another ad I see of you. Oh, there's something on your car. I see a label. Oh, now I'm thinking about you. Next time I come to Lake Tahoe, I'm going to call Hey Chef. So you're really just buying an impression, and ultimately you don't know necessarily which one of those things made that person call you. It could be that they were talking about you over dinner with somebody else and who went, yeah, I used that company and that was a great experience. They're like, yeah, I am going to use that company. I'll call them now. And you won't know if they've seen 2 or 3 of the suite of things that you've put out to get the word out about your business, or if you just happen to get it lucky and you did a print ad and they saw it and they went, oh, I'm going to pick up the phone and call. But I'm going to ask you, how many times have you done that, right? I guess I have maybe once or twice, but I already had a broken windshield. So when I saw the ad and I saw the coupon, I called. So think about your return on your investment, and how much business you have to earn to make sure that it's worth it. Also, one of the good sides is that print ads have a longer lifespan than some of the other ads that you could put up. For instance, if you're doing ads on Facebook to a regional area, that sort of thing. And then my hint to you, which I've already shared, is that you're really buying an impression, and that it's many impressions that you have to make in order for you to come front of mind when someone's finally ready to purchase. And if you think about it, there's a reason why McDonald's and Doritos and Bud Light still advertise at the Super Bowl. And you think, well, they don't need to. They're already making how much money, right? But you have to be in somebody's attention, in their world, when they're ready to make a purchase. And the only way to do that is to compete with everyone else that's competing for their attention. So McDonald's is constantly advertising. Coors Light is constantly advertising, so that they get, I get images in front of me about how much fun my party's going to be in the backyard. When I'm drinking Bud Light, it's so picturesque, right? I'm standing by the barbecue and we're all laughing. It's great. So that when I finally go to the refrigerator case of my grocery store and I'm faced with 45 choices, I just go like, oh, there's too many choices. The easy thing is, I know I can get Bud Light. Or whatever it is that you're purchasing, it's impressions over time on a consistent basis that gets you business. And that's why for many chefs, buying an ad early in the early stages of their business is not worth it, because the first phase of the 3 phases of running a business is profitability. So you should not be taken out alone, or just hoping that this is going to be a magic bullet by you putting out an ad. That usually doesn't work. So the third thing, the three things that you need to know before buying an ad. Number one, you're not buying an ad, you're buying an audience. Number two, how much business do you need to earn to cover that expense, and that it's really an impression. And then the number three thing that you need to know before you consider buying an ad, and a lot of chefs don't know this. So I'm not trying to talk down to people who already do understand this difference, but for every magazine or newspaper or radio station or news station, there are two departments. There's an editorial department and there's an advertising department. The advertising department is trying to sell commercials, print space, right? Audio ads, and they do that for a fee, and then you can buy time on their airwaves or on their print or on their channel. Right? Editorial is where they cover things like, oh, there was a storm, and oh, here's a great new business in town who just had a ribbon cutting ceremony, that sort of thing. Stuff that's covered by the editorial team is completely different than stuff covered by the advertising team. Think of advertising as sales, editorial as like, hey, this is really interesting, let's cover it. And that's free. And that's really where I'd like you to focus your attention, because everything in the editorial department is free. Now, here's the thing. If you can't come up with something compelling enough about you, who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, your expertise, your credibility and experience, the new things that you're offering customers, a new product line, that sort of thing, that's compelling enough for an editorial department to give you some column inches, and in print, it's called column inches, right? It's wonderful. If you can get for free 2 column inches, that has a value to it. And if you can't come up with something interesting enough for them to cover that on an editorial basis, then you probably are going to have a hard time coming up with something that's compelling enough to be a good ad. And a good ad is not just, here's my business name and my phone number, and now I'm going to discount my services, right? That's cutting right into your profits, chef. So I do not suggest doing a print ad and giving a discount for your services. I really want you to give some thought to who it is you serve, what problems do you solve for them, and what makes you unique in the marketplace and separates you from your competition. And when you can identify that, you will often come up with something that would be a pitch, something of interest that you could pitch the editorial department, and then you get free advertising because you're working on the editorial side, not the ad side of a company. So as an example, I want to, and then the other great thing about that is, sorry, I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to forget anything important that I want to share with you. But the great thing is, if you get to do something editorial, and I'll give you an example of that, you often get some trade advertising space for that. So for instance, I write a column. I write 2 columns. I write locally and nationally. Locally, I write for Moonshine Inc. And it's just their food and lifestyle section. And I'll be like, here's a great recipe from the farmer's market, from our chef. Here's a great way to prepare for the winter, for your home entertaining tips, things like that. And it's usually 400 to 700 words. And so I submit my article. I don't just go like, hey, I wrote this, what do you think? I call them, I have a relationship with them. I say, hey, Natasha, hey, Mayumi, what are you writing about? What's coming up in the next couple months? How can I contribute and add value to your audience with what it is that I do? And they're like, actually, we've been thinking about promoting the farmer's market. This happened this summer. We've been wanting to promote the farmer's market. So it would be interesting if you, as a chef, could tell us, I'm not a chef, but our chef company could tell us, what menu would you make using only ingredients from the farmer's market? I was like, you bet, I'll write an article about that. They published it. And I had at least 5 people walking down the street just go like, hey, I saw your article. Hey, I saw your article, right? Free. Took some time. I had to write the article. I had to think it out. But the greatest thing about that was the credibility that it shows. Now, anybody can buy an ad. A crappy housekeeper, a crappy, car detailer. You never know. Just because they bought an ad doesn't mean their services are good, right? A plumber, that sort of thing. But if you're being put in a paper, there's an assumption that there's some sort of vetting, there's some sort of evaluation that this is significant enough that the readers should see it and hear it. And not only did they get to see my name and my phone number and know that it was me, but they saw that I was an expert. Because it was, like blessed by the newspaper saying, yeah, we think this is valuable to give to our audience. So I not only got an ad, but my column showed my expertise. So I write occasionally, a couple times a year, for the food and lifestyle section of Moonshine Inc. And then I write on a monthly basis. I have a monthly column called The Business of Chefs in Food and Beverage Magazine, which is the largest business to business food magazine in our nation, 472,000 subscribers. Will I do that for free? You bet. Because how much is a quarter page ad? Thousands of dollars, right? So my hint is you should write a column. And you don't have to pay for that. And it's likely that as a result of doing that and giving them content that serves their audience, they will give you trade space. Every publication ends up with a quarter space ad that's blank 1 month or half page ad that's blank 1 month. And if you're ready to go, you go, hey, I'll give you something to fill. Then they'll also add in your things. So just know the difference between editorial and advertising and come up with a way to speak so compellingly about your business that it's worth writing stories about, because those stories are more compelling than any ad will ever be. Okay, now I want you to stay tuned because I'm going to tell you the number one way to get customers without ads. And before that, I'm going to share with you that Chef John had called me. He's on the East Coast, and he got a proposal for an annual package with a newspaper to do ads. And he said, all right, I think I'm at the stage for my business that I want to do that. I want to think about it. And he came to me. I was consulting with him for his business. And he said, what do you think? And the package for the annual set of ads, so that he was in there every week, so that his business was featured on their website as well, right, was $35,000. $35,000. Now, if you think about that, maybe you need 35 $1,500 clients to make up for that. And if you've identified exactly the spot where your clients are, maybe that's worth it. But my guess is that's going to bring 3,000 inquiries from people who don't understand you, what you do, or your prices just by seeing an ad. So it often adds a lot more busyness to you. So in that case, we looked at what that expense would be. We went through the circulation, the audience, their media kit, their print versus consumption, all those sorts of things, and looked at the return on investment. And ultimately, he made the decision not to go forward with that proposal for $35,000. Instead, he took some advice that I offered, and he may have also heard from other people, but he followed through when I said, you know what, reach out to the editorial department, because anybody that's trying to sell you that big of a package has an interest for what it is that you're doing, and there's probably some sort of need for it. I said, reach out to the editor. And he called me elated about a week later. He's like, oh yeah, they're doing a full article on me. And they came and took pictures and everything else. And the great news is he didn't pay for it. He got a lot of coverage for it. I'll talk about that in a minute. Color pictures and everything else. He didn't have to design it. I mean, you look at, if you're going to put forth an ad, now you've got to have somebody design the ad. So it's not just a business card. Even if it's a business card, you got to just design it, right? But he got them to lay out and photograph and cover an article about him, just like we did a month or two ago in Edible magazine. Hey Chef was featured in Tahoe's Edible magazine, and they brought a photographer out and they laid it out and they wrote the article. I'd rather have that any day. And the great thing is there's actually a measurement. Larger companies will have services do a search, like a Google search, for their name for any time it's mentioned anywhere across the world, even, because there might be an article about the 10 best ski resorts in Lake Tahoe that comes out in the New York Times that one particular ski resort was never even contacted about, right? But they'll list it because they're creating an article for their audience. And so these search services, I'm not suggesting that you pay for them. I'm talking about what bigger companies do when they're profitable. They pay for these search services to bring them reports back to show them where they're being mentioned and how much they're being mentioned. And when it comes in print, it's called column inches. Think about a newspaper or a magazine being in columns. And the value of having a month where you had 35 column inches or 87 column inches is really a good metric to evaluate how good your marketing efforts are, right? How big is the word getting out there? How many people are writing about it, whether you know about it or not, right? Which is why they use these search services. But certainly if you're big enough to have a marketing department, they should be pitching stories of interest to editorial departments of magazines, news, radio, everything, so that then they can measure their progress by column inches. And there are other measurements as well, but today we're just talking about print ads. So Chef John saved himself $35,000, saved himself the time, energy, and additional money it would take to design the ads, and then also got a free editorial ad that was laid out and photographed by the team themselves. And now he's got a relationship that he can continue to follow up. He can bake cookies and send a thank you note. And hey, I was thinking about you. I know Christmas is coming. What have you got on your roster that you need to share with your readers or your audience? And how can I be of service? Remember, you're never selling. You're just being of service. And an editorial team is looking for things that are valuable to their readers. So you tell them, this is what I do. What can I help provide you so that you can provide something valuable to your audience? Okay. Also, hey, Chef, I alluded to golf courses, and I wanted to let you know that these ads, and we've tried them on the backs of golf benches on the 18th hole, and on shopping carts on the little flap, where the kids sit. And we've tried them on billboards and print ads and with the golf course ads themselves. And just remember that they make their money on ad space, and that allows them to print their magazines. And the front and the back and the inside covers are the most expensive, because that's mostly the stuff that's seen. When it's sitting in a stack, people are seeing the front cover. Or when it's laying down on a coffee table, people are seeing the back cover. And then the inside covers, inside the front and the back, are the second most valuable spaces. And that's why you'll see them being so expensive. So I'm going to leave you with one more hint. What I did the last time that I wanted to do a full page ad, and I didn't want to afford it all by myself. I could have, but I didn't think that it had the power for me to do it myself, as opposed to partnering with other people in my community. And we talk about partnering a lot as we grow our businesses. So what I did was reach out to people that I do business with. There's a liquor store in town that does specialty liquor and high-end purchases, that $1,000 bottle of whatever. I don't drink, so I can't name it. So we reached out to a top wine cellar liquor store, the top florist in town that's known for these incredible arrangements, also a private transportation firm. This is before, like everyone could do Uber, but people want a Cadillac to pick them up and their ski equipment from our airport and bring them. So we have private transportation companies in town. So I reached out to Tal with his Tahoe Transportation Company. And then I also reached out to some friends that do business for the clients we do business for. They're called Details, and Andrew and Greg are hired to put up people's Christmas trees and do patio lighting and things like that. They do the details of people's homes. So we partnered with the wine cellar, the florist, the private transportation, the details company, and then the chef. Can you see no competition there? And the five of us paid together to have an ad designed that featured all 5 of us. And the ad was like, here are the top 5 businesses in Tahoe that you need to know about, right? And it was a full page ad. And it cost me 1/5 that amount. And I was not in competition with. In fact, I was rubbing elbows with other people that I felt represented the level of service that I wanted to convey was part of my company. So I would encourage you to partner with other providers with your ads and think about how you can do that. Now, to finish up, I want to make sure that you have the number one way to get the word out to get your customers. And that's with your voice, chef. It's with your voice. That means picking up the phone and using your voice and calling people. It means telling your family, your friends, and your neighbors that you've got a special, or you've got some openings still for the coming season that you want to get booked, and have them put out posts. So your voice becomes louder with their voice. It comes from you calling all of your affiliates and partners. And we work on that in the Rapid Business Launch program, identifying who are your key affiliates and partners for whom you're not in competition, but for whom you're providing a service because they need to know about you. In my town, I'm in a vacation town, it's property management companies and concierge desks of homeowners associations. So it's about you using your voice. And there is nothing that's going to do a better job at selling your services than you being uniquely you and telling people about why it is you do what you do, for whom you do it, and the problem that you solve. And when you do that in a compelling way, that will speak better than any ad that you can create that sits still on a piece of paper that hopes somebody will open it up to page 37 and be paying attention as they flip through and see your 8th page or quarter page ad, right? So I'm all for ads if you've got the money for it. And it's one of the ways that you are keeping and bookmarking your place in your community. Bigger marketing budgets typically have 10% of their budget for placement ads just to keep their place amongst their competition. They don't expect a return from it at all. It's bookmarking their presence in the community, right? But if you're not at that phase in your business and you're not yet profitable, I don't believe that print ads are for you. This was 3 of the reasons why. I hope that this was valuable to you. If you have something that you want to look at, please let me know. Reach out to me. I'm Holly from Make Your Business Cook. Chef, I want to make sure that you can build a business that gives you freedom, that gives you clients, that gives you profits, so that you can be independent, finally, and start running the business that you want and doing what it is that you do best, which is changing people's lives with the food that you cook. So drop me a comment, drop me a question or a concern so that I can help with some other areas of training. I hope you enjoyed it today. I'm glad that you're here. And above all else, chef, work safely. Okay, bye.